This webinar is Exploring User Wish Through Mind Mapping in Agile Projects, and it will be presented by Kenji Hiranabe. Kenji is the CEO of Change Vision and is actually pretty involved in the Agile community as well. Tends to speak pretty frequently at different Agile events, and for those of you who will be in Germany at Scrum Day, make sure to check out his session discussing Nonaka's Scrum and how it can be applied to some newer ideas in development today. Before we get started and I turn the presentation over to Kenji, if anyone has a question for Kenji or for me or in general, just go ahead and feel free to ask it. There's a question functionality built right into the webinar software, but to make sure that everything's working, we have another function as well. That's the raise hand function. So I'm hoping that those of you in attendance can click the raise hand button just to make sure that first you can hear me, and second that your raise hand button is working. So if you can, go ahead and click the raise hand button. Okay, so what I'll do now is, thanks everyone, so what I'll do now is turn this on over to Kenji, who will talk about the presentation, or who will talk about user wishes and mind mapping.
Hello everybody, can you hear me? This is Kenji Hiranabe. I'm from Japan, and today I will talk to you about mind mapping in a software development context, especially about exploring user wish or user stories in Agile context using mind mapping. I am showing you my face if I'm doing correctly, and I'm showing the PowerPoint slides too. Okay, I will start my presentation a little bit about Japan, because I'm broadcasting here from Japan. Okay, everybody know where is Japan, and here we have Japan on right hand side here, and I'm a CEO of Change Vision, which is a small tool vendor in Japan. So the two places, we have two offices. One is in Asakusa, Tokyo, and the other is in Fukui. Asakusa, Tokyo is a sales and communication division here, and in Fukui we have a development team. In Asakusa, as you know, there is a very famous sightseeing place called Kaminarimon. And this is, maybe some of you know about this very well. And in Fukui, Fukui is a very rural place, so quite a bit countryside. And there is a Tojimbo cliff, and here every year, this is famous for its suicide spot. So every year 100 people jump off this cliff, and the death rate is like 70%. So it's very famous, but usually it's a very good sightseeing place, beautiful place to visit. So if you have a chance to come to Tokyo or Fukui or Japan, please visit us, with me, Change Vision. Okay, today's agenda here is like this. First of all, I will introduce myself a bit, and then I will explain what is a mind map and why you use mind mapping in software development. And thirdly, I'm do the main part, exploring user wish using this mind mapping method. And then I will show you how to use Astah to do the mind mapping. Astah is our product, which can draw UML, ER diagrams, and state machines and other software-related diagrams, as well as mind mapping. And lastly, I'll do the conclusion. Okay, here are books I translated or I authored in Japanese. The above is, some of them you are familiar with maybe, and some of them are related to extreme programming, and some are related to lean software development. In Japan, extreme programming is not very well accepted in management, but lean software development, apparently it's from Japan. The concept is from Japan, and so lean software development is well accepted, and now Scrum is also very well accepted in Japan. But Agile adoption here in Japan is still very low, maybe I would say 10%, only 10%, very behind the world trend of new software development method. And recently, I mean, this January actually, I wrote a book with Nonaka Ikujiro, who is a well-known business thinker about Agile and Scrum, and published it. So I am a translator, book writer about Agile and Scrum development. And also, I am a CEO of Astah.net, or Change Vision is the company name. And Astah is formerly known as Jude, and which was a UML editor, and now supports mind mapping, ERD, and so on. And now it runs on iPad too, and it runs on PC, Mac, Linux too. Here, I think I will try this raise your hand action, which is my first time to do this. But if you know, or have you ever used Astah before, could you please raise your hands? How many of you have experience with? Oh, thank you, Nabi. I see some hands. Good. Thank you. I'm seeing the list of the names of attendees, and some of you are very familiar to me. Nabi from Germany and Fabricio from Brazil. Okay, they are all fans of Astah. Thank you very much for attending today. Okay, I'm going back to the slide now. So I'm also this picture took in 2011. Jeff Sutherland, of course you know him, one of the co-creator of Scrum, and Ikujiro Nonaka, who is the first person who created the word Scrum in new product development world. And there was a seminar conference called Innovation Sprint 2011. At that time, I worked with them as a translator, so I was very proud of having done that. And as you know, or you may know, the word Scrum is coined by Ikujiro Nonaka, and he first wrote the article of the new product development game, which is written in 1986 in Harvard Business Review. He researched Japanese new product development world and found that they are not doing phase gate process, but doing altogether whole team process. So at your right, this is the copy of the first Scrum, or the new product development article by Ikujiro Nonaka and Hirotaka Takeuchi. And it says on the right-hand side, stop running the relay race and take up rugby, meaning that using phase gate, like passing batons to the next runner, which is like waterfall in the software development world. And you should take up rugby, which is like Scrum in software development. This was the first article Nonaka wrote. And now it's referenced by Jeff Sutherland, and the word Scrum is now used as a agile method in software development world. So I will not talk about this this time in this webinar, but I will talk about this in the Scrum Day in Germany, and I have talked about this in Agile India, and I will talk about this in several other Agile conferences in the future. So this is this picture shows how Japanese manufacturing industry is related to Agile world and Lean concept and recent Lean startup concept together. This diagram is drawn by Yasunobu Kawaguchi-san, who is my real good friend working with in Rakuten, and he described all those diagrams showing the relationship between Agile and Japanese manufacturing world. But sadly, in Japan, Agile adoption rate in software development is still very low. So we are struggling. Our Japanese Agile community is now struggling with how to push this movement forward. Okay, now let's get back to the main part, and I will talk about exploring user wish through mind mapping here today. This mind map is drawn by Michael, and it shows a concept of mind mapping very well. So I use this as an example as well as explaining mind map itself. There is pictures and words at the same time, and central picture in the center, and the branches radially growing around the central picture. And it explains why you use mind mapping and how, the left-hand side, how to use mind mapping and functions of mind mapping, etc. So, mind map. Mind map, what is a mind map? Mind map is a note-taking technique invented by Tony Buzan, who is a British doctor, and he wrote the book, The Mind Map Book, which is a Bible of mind mapping. And it visualizes thoughts with a radiant structure, like the one here. I showed you XP mind map here, but the idea is words and pictures or radiant structure, a spatial expression with colors and pictures together. This is very powerful technique because you can capture the idea as a logical text as well as a image, the picture, the two things at the same time. I will recommend the other picture of mind map book I put it here is Tony Buzan's Mind Maps for Kid. He also wrote this book for kids about how to draw mind maps. But both two books is very well written and very inspiring, so I recommend to read these books to understand mind mapping. This is a Da Vinci's note, as you can see, here you can see pictures and text at the same time. So many world great brains use those picture and words at the same time. This is related to how your brain works. This explains your right-hand side cortex and left-hand side cortex hemisphere, I mean. Roger Sperry, the Nobel Prize scientist, he said that there are two hemispheres in your brain, which is right and left, and the right-hand side is function like right-hand side works well with a emotional expression or spatial things, musics and creativity or imagination and pictures or image pictures. And Gestalto. Gestalto is the whole picture, to the ability or capability, the ability to capture one thing as a one picture. And right-hand side, left hand is good at writing or speaking languages and logical thinking and mathematics and thinking, linear thinking. Someone said that right-hand side is like parallel processor connected to your sensors. By sensors, I mean eyes, feelings, and ears and things, your sensors connected to parallelly. And left-hand side is a serial processor that thinks things one by one linearly, I mean logically, so that you can create logics or languages. So the brain has two parts and they are working together that makes you yourself thinking and feeling together. So the thing about mind mapping is Tony Buzan used the word brain friendly, which means that mind mapping uses pictures and words that is friendly to your brain because that uses your right-hand side hemisphere and left-hand hemisphere at the same time. I will recommend to see this TED video. The title is How It Feels to Have a Stroke. This woman, she is a brain scientist, Jill, who is attacked by a stroke one morning herself. I mean, it's very rare that brain scientist was attacked by a stroke. And she described how it goes, the stroke. He explains her experience in this video. I will strongly recommend you to see this. Like this, when she was attacked, she felt like once her right hand hemisphere is dominant, every sense, feelings is connected to the world, and she said that she felt like she is united to the world as one, united to the world. And she was so surprised, and also she thought in her left-hand side that she have to telephone to the doctor, but she wait for the left-hand side coming back, and once she got the left-hand side, she tried to telephone to the doctor. But once the other right-hand side coming back, and that makes her very confused. So that kind of experience she describes. So it was very fantastic video in the tech library. So mind mapping again. Why mind mapping? The right-hand side, this picture shows why mind mapping works, or why you use mind mapping. To see important thing and not important thing, and to recognize key points, and it captures concepts in one page, and you can view quickly, and you can remember better, and you can edit later and add more info. This is the why part of the mind mapping. And how part describes how to read and how to draw mind mapping, create mind mapping, and goals and things. This picture itself describes how to use mind mapping, and so on. To me, mind mapping is a very good tool for making a notes when I read books. This note which I took was a note of a book called Sustainable Software Development. I use mind mapping when I read books because I can remember the contents of the book. And what do you do when you have memos or you have to remember things in the books? I used to fold the corner of pages so that I can remember where I can read it again. It was called, I don't know what it's called, but it's like doggy or something. Fold the corner of pages so that you can remember the good part of the page. But recently, I use mind mapping a lot. When I took mind map, when I finished this mind map, I post this mind map, one-page mind map, in front of the book and staple it with the cover page, so that you can remember the contents, just to see the front page. Tony Buzan says that your brain remember things, everything. I mean, whole life is captured in your brain as a tape recorded, but you cannot reach to that specific part. You cannot reach to the memory, so you felt like you forget something, but actually you don't forget it. You just can't reach the memory. So what I want to say here is mind map works as a kind of indexes to your brain. Am I making my point? I'm not sure, but mind map captures the essence of your experience, or the contents of the book in this case, in one page, so that you can remember the contents of the book as a picture and words at the same time in one page, and it's connected somehow to your brain, to your part of brain of that specific memory. It's like Google search to your brain. Once you take that note as a mind map, it works as a keyword to your specific part of your brain, so that you can remember later what you experienced in your real life. This is a magic of mind mapping. Okay, I will show you some examples of mind maps. This is one written by Ken Beck. Ken Beck is a inventor of extreme programming, and he drew this mind map in his second book, back cover page. It describes XP consists of values and principles and practices and so on. It's very simple but powerful mind map. It captures the concept of the XP as a one shape. You can remember this thing as a image in your brain. Next one is this one. I took this mind map from my project team, which is they are doing release planning, and they list the released features or features to be released in the next release, so that they can capture the image of the next release as a picture, so that they can share the idea of the next release. And this one is about my talk, a different talk, different than this today's talk, but it's about learning Kaizen from Toyota. I did this talk 2 or 3 years ago in Agile 2000X with Mary Popendick, and it captures the concept of the talk in one picture also. So I use this mind mapping technique to gather ideas and present it to the audience. By the way, I use mind mapping a lot for a wedding speech. I'm not sure Western people do wedding speech. I was asked to do the speech so many times, but you don't want to read paper, so I draw mind maps to remember the speech itself. Its speech starts with my introduction and how I'm related to the bride or bridegroom, and what's his characters and his good thing, bad thing, and things like that. I place those branches, which is formatted radially, and I draw this on a paper, and I see it for a long time. When I'm moving, I mean on train or a taxi, whenever before you go to the wedding ceremony, you just looking to remember this picture, the speech as a picture, I would say, so that you can remember the picture when you do a speech. You can remember the shape itself, so that you can come up with the next items you should talk. Okay, here I would show you.
Hey, Kenji, yeah. I just wanted to jump in with an audience question.
Okay.
So the comment was that the mind map seems very intuitive and easy to learn to take notes on, but is it something that other people can understand as they, is this only for you to take notes, or do you share this with customers and help visualize with them?
Very good question. Because someone says that mind map can be used to explain things, but this is my personal opinion. But to me, mind mapping captures the context or the memories. So if you don't have shared experience or memory, you cannot understand the mind map itself. That means that when you took a note by yourself, for yourself, it's for you. But when you do a group mind mapping, I mean, like the release planning mind mapping, you share the mind mapping drawing experience together. Then you can use that mind map to have a shared understanding of what we thought as a picture. Did I answer a question?
Yeah, actually, the response was that's a good answer, and it makes a lot of sense because, and I know from for me, when I look at that, I can see that they're hard to decode if you don't know when you were originally reading it, but if you create them as a group, that makes a lot of sense. So thank you.
Yeah. Okay. But someone insists that mind mapping also can express things. But to me, it's too personal. I mean, it's hard to read others mind maps drawn by others. Some other example I will show you. This mind mapping is when I say planning mind mapping. By the way, I'm showing a mind mapping on Astah. Astah is my tool. I mean, mind mapping tool integrated with UML. And it says when, what, why, who, where, result. Interesting. 5 W's and 1 R. Don't you think this is really business oriented? Because it's no how, but results. But surprising thing is that this 5W and 1R framework. Oh, by the way, those branches, the first branches are called BOIs, meaning basic ordering idea. So that frames, that works as a framework of your thought. So when it starts this time and what we will do retrospective and demos and party after that. Why we do that? It's for communication and congratulate beta release and tour of project room and have fun. Apparently, this Project Christmas invites customers, bring in customers to your development room, apparently. And who is coming? It says customers and development team members, and where you're going to have it in the project room and dining room of headquarters, it says. And results you're expecting is customer satisfaction, build win-win relationship, get hints to the next release, and have good memory, and so on. So this is a planning mind map I use a lot. W1R is a good framework for that. Next one, I will show you some funny one, or practical to me, but I am a jazz guitar player, so this describes a jazz guitar chords categorized by the place of root sound, which is a very technical one, but I use this for remembering the chords as a picture. I post it in my room wall, and I stare them. I look at them all the time to remember this. And next one is a meeting note. I take this mind map a lot and lot. When I start a meeting, I will prepare this mind mapping beforehand, time and place, attendees, and conclusion is left blank at the first time, and to-dos blank, and agendas here. And when discussion starts, I share this mind mapping with the group. I mean, I use overhead projector to see the team, so that team can see. And when discussion grows, I take notes like this. The discussion grows, and like when you like this topic 11, I put smiley mark here, and when you find this topic 11 is related to topic 5, I use this dotted line. And when you say this topic 6 group is very important, I would circle this thing like this, so that everyone in a meeting on the same page, keep everyone on the same page where what we are talking about. As the agenda goes on, this meeting note grows, and when the meeting ends, we fill this conclusion and to-do list. And of course, you can copy this mind mapping, and if you like, paste it into Excel or whatever. Now you can see the mind map is inherently tree structured. So now you can see time and place, attendees, conclusions, to do, and then agenda discussion tree. So this can work as a simple note for the minute, as a minute. And this also shows that mind map itself is a tree structure. To show that this is a tree structure, I would show you that from Excel, this Excel is a software quality in 6 ilities: usability, efficiency, functionality, and so on, and sub-qualities here. And I make it a tree structure. I will copy this structure and make a mind mapping. Okay, software quality, and I will paste this Excel into a mind map. Guess what happens? Paste it. Now you can see the tree structure is converted into mind map. Mind mapping is better than Excel in this case because you can change those branches. Like now functionality has this compliance, but if you think compliance is not functionality, compliance is efficiency, you can just pick it and drag and drop into efficiency so that you can change categorization and stuff. And in discussion mode, you can use this mind map very effectively so that everyone can see how we can organize things together. Okay, I think I'm running out of time, so I skip those things and do a short demo of how we can use a mind mapping in a user wish exploration here. I prepared a mind map for user interview. Assume that I am having an interview with a library manager, city library manager, and assume that we are developing a new software system for the library. And assume this is the first timing to talk with the library manager. So this is a framework I use a lot to interview with users. By the way, this type of interview is called semi-structured interview because it's somehow structured that when the conversation go off topic, you can also capture the off-topic things in this mind mapping. You can just add branches. So mind mapping works very well with those semi-structures in interview. So it goes like this. When you asking why, you captures what the interviewees say. Why are you going to make this city library system newly? They would say like budget passed, or long line of waiting or overwork of clerks or something like that. And who is going to use this system? The answer would be clerks or visitors, like this. So as you talk with users, you share this mind mapping together to get information from the users. Now I'm using the 3-minute cooking program like Jump. I just prepared the finished version of this mind mapping. It says why, budget passed, staffs, lots of paperwork and overtime, so less overwork. For visitors, too much waiting time to borrow, so they need quicker service. And who would use this system? It says clerk, not visitor this time, and visitors and librarian. And when use this, like the answers would be like when they borrow books, return books, search books, register books, and so on. And after the interviews, I always take this part. I feel this part is the homework part. So next meeting, or we will discuss about service for visitors this next time, or so on. So this mind map works as a memo to capture the talk with users. And now I will make this memo into a user stories. Or sometimes I use use cases too. So this time I will show you a simple version of a use case first, and then user stories. In Astah, you can draw use case diagram too. So on your left-hand side, here is a tree structure of a mind map I just took. It says why, who, when, and homework. And what I would like to show you is to convert this mind map into a use case. We have clerks. I just drag and drop this clerk into use case diagram as an actor. And also visitors, librarians, those two as the actors, like this. And others, when, okay, those when things, borrow, return, search, register books, I drag and drop as use cases, like this, and make diagrams. In Astah, those concepts are connected to each other, so you can just click this link to go back to the mind mapping topic, and also from mind mapping, just click to use case, so that you can connect use case with mind mapping. Also, you can use mind mapping as a user story too in the Agile context. Here is a user story version of a mind map. It's like this. Here are some user stories like borrow book, return book, register book, and so on. And I use this format in order to do something as someone I want to do something. So borrow book. In order to borrow book as a clerk, I want to read in book ID and member ID. It's a typical user story for borrowing book. So once it's captured, you can copy this mind map and drag and drop into this format if you want to. So that you can now have those mind mapping, those user stories list. And also, if you would like to print this out as a card, you can export this into PowerPoint. Yes, so that you can print it out as a story card. So what I'm showing here is to capture using Mindmap user wish and establish a sum structure from it, and made a use case or user stories. Today I have little time, so I skipped a lot of things, but a concept is here. Here, okay. The big pictures I explained today was, so user wish is very vague at the first place. So capturing user wish by using mind mapping, I call this a user wish mind map. And you extract why use this system and who is going to use this system and when are you going to use this system. Those three questions to extract roles and values and stories of the system, so that you can write user stories and extract from the mind map. And then you can write a user story card or whatever, use cases sometimes, so that you can estimate later or plan the release or prioritize or test or write test from that use cases or user stories. Okay, I skipped a lot of things today, but conclusion is like this. Mind mapping is effective when gathering information, exploring topics freely with users, involving users to talk about systems. As a matter of fact, I first used UML diagrams with users, but they don't understand UML diagrams. So I changed my mind to use mind mapping. It's a more softer way of capturing vague ideas using mind mapping. So it's semi-structured and it captures non-structured things very well. And then you can convert it, if necessary, from mind mapping to use cases or user stories. This is a written article about this. StickyMinds.com, you can search Sticky Minds and Kenji Hiranabe to have this article, Agile Modeling with Mind Mapping and UML. And this is the big picture. So my idea is to divide requirements phase into two. One is requirements gathering using mind mapping, and then requirements modeling using UML or user stories. Okay, it's almost the time, so that's almost it. I would like to make software development itself more collaborative, productive, and fun. So mind mapping can work as a tool for you, hopefully. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kenji. That I hope everyone found that to be informative. And if anyone has any questions about the topic, we do have a few minutes left over to answer it, so that Kenji can answer the questions. So feel free to type those in. But Kenji, there's one question that was raised here, and it says, will you make these slides available after the presentation, and how can we get those? I assume we'll just post those to the website or email everyone a link where they can find those at some point.
Yes, sure.
Are there any other questions that anyone has?
How I can see the questions, by the way?
Oh, that would be in the questions pane, but I
Questions. Okay.
think that you covered a lot of different topics here. And if anyone wants to contact you, it looks your Twitter is right there as well. So
Yes.
I would encourage anyone to follow Kenji, and if you have questions, that's here we go. So. Um, Let me see. We do have a question here that I'll read. How will we be able to access a recording of the webinar? So I can answer that. We are recording the webinar and we'll post this shortly online after today, so you can then share it with your colleagues and everything. Another question says that the mind map is a kind of tool to document brainstorming concepts, but you're using it as a requirements definition tool. How were you
Yes.
able to come up with this idea of sort of shifting mind mapping to develop mind mapping, and how did you how did you start thinking business requirements from what you were talking earlier about wedding planning and things like that?
Yeah. I was a UML user for a long time, and I found that UML is powerful for engineers, but it's very difficult for users or non-IT people. So I first tried to educate them, but sometimes I, I gave up and began to use more user-friendly or brain-friendly way of talking with users with a picture. So I started using Mindmaps too.
Oh, good answer. That's very
Yeah,
interesting.
and mind mapping. I'm sorry. User story gathering is very hard, and it's like if you can't do it very well, you will like doing suicide. I mean, this is the last slide. This is my hometown, and so save me. I mean, save software engineers from suicidal approach of the project using mind mapping.
Okay. So another question that popped up is in what about for large projects? It seems like using a
Oh,
mind map, this can get a very big
yes,
mind map. How do you
very.
mitigate and
Mhm.
make it so that the mind map doesn't get crazy?
Yeah, big project itself is very difficult. Whatever tool, whatever documentation, whatever is when you use, it's going to be a big requirements document itself. So I would use mind mapping in a small sized project, starting with it, and when you have to organize into one big thing, I would say you have to think about it.
Okay.
A good question.
That makes a lot of sense, and it seems to me that you could break down and do mind maps for specific parts of a large project, or maybe
Mhm.
even use a mind map to divide the project and break off into a different mind map. It, it, if I'm understanding, it sounds like you
Mhm.
use this to not necessarily gather the actual requirements, but sort of a pre-requirement and
Yes,
pre-user
yes, exactly.
pre-wishes.
Yes, yeah. The point is involve users in the discussion.
Okay, now a follow-up on that is that so there are lots of different visualization tools such as structure diagram and so on. Why mind map as a tool for capturing these?
I cannot think of any other soft and semi-structured diagramming yet.
Okay.
Maybe tree structure is fine, but mind mapping is soft and it has pictures too. So that works that have been working well to me too.
That makes sense, and I would also say too, for my understanding now too, the mind mapping, you can, if you've never used it before, it will immediately be obvious with no training, with no meta
Right.
explanation of the diagram.
Right. Right.
Whereas other diagrams and visualization requires requires a little more understanding of the diagramming technique.
Yes. Yes. Kids can draw mind mapping too.
That's a good point. So, another question here is, assuming that you have, say, 3 different Agile or Scrum teams working on the same project, and let's say there's dependencies between the teams and the corresponding user stories. How would you think to handle that and those sort of cross collaboration with mind mapping and Astah specifically?
Good question. I usually use not one mind mapping diagram. I use several. Mind mapping and several diagrams or several Astah files, and I use links between them. Astah can have a link to a file or URL, so any document. So there is one big picture mind mapping for the whole thing. I mean, common understanding of the system or requirements, and then you can have a link from that mind map into more detailed mind mapping that is owned by the groups.
That makes sense. That makes sense. That seems like a good way to help collaborate and share between the team. And I think we have one last comment because we're a little bit over now. But just wanted to say that Fabricio from Brazil has offered to translate he's attending and has offered to translate the presentation and slides into
how nice.
Brazil into Portuguese, so hopefully we'll also be able to post that as well. And Fabricio, we will email you the slides shortly after this.
Yes, Alex, we are going to send follow-up email, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, after this, maybe either later today, tomorrow, or very soon, we'll just send a very quick follow-up email. You may get one from the webinar host, GoToWebinar, but we'll also send you this with a link to where you can see the webinar and download the slides, and eventually we'll post that directly on Astah.net as well, which is a little easier to share with folks. But we'll have all that in the email. So if you have any questions in the meantime, by all means, just send it to any of us, and we'll be happy to answer those. Otherwise, thank you everyone for attending, and thank you, Kenji, for presenting
thank you very
all of
much.
this.
Yeah.
Great. Everyone have a great
good feedbacks.
Great, and thanks everyone, and have a great day for those of you in the Eastern time zone, and good night for everyone in Japan. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Alex, too.